Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and one of the big developments that happened today was, of course, the Indian Air Force Mirage 2000 landing on a piece of highway, yes, on the Yamuna Expressway near Delhi. Why is that really special? We'll be talking about that to a special guest as well over the next half hour. But first, the headlines you're tracking right now. Amid the ongoing power tussle, the Delhi government now accuses bureaucrats of running a transfer posting industry in the capital. The BJP delegation urges the president to step in and resolve the crisis. The BJP unveils grand plans to counter opposition charges of Modi government being pro-industrialist, will promote flagship schemes for the poor as part of the campaign to celebrate a year in office. In a first for Indian military aviation, Air Force successfully test lands a Mirage 2000 jet on the Yamuna Expressway near Delhi. Declassified documents seized from Osama bin Laden's Abbottabad hideout reveals Al-Qaeda's praises for the 26/11 attacks and the German bakery blast. And Islamic State militants enter the World Heritage Site of Palmyra in Syria. UNESCO warns of destruction of artifacts would be an enormous loss to humanity. The top story this evening, amid the ongoing power tussle in Delhi, the Aam Aadmi Party government has now started to target top bureaucrats. Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia alleged that officials have been running a transfer posting industry in the national capital. Now, this comes a day after IAS officials expressed anguish over the way top bureaucrats have been treated in the ongoing crisis.
The Delhi government has denied reports that the morale of its officers had been hit by the row between the Chief Minister and the Lieutenant Governor. The government has been locked in an ugly spat with the Lieutenant Governor over the posting and transfer of senior officers, particularly those from the IAS. This has fueled speculation that the morale of IAS officers in the Delhi government has been hit and that some are seeking postings elsewhere. Delhi's Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia alleges that the officials have been running what he called a transfer posting industry in Delhi.
दिल्ली में अधिकारियों की ट्रांसफर पोस्टिंग एक धंधा बनी हुई थी, एक बहुत बड़ी इंडस्ट्री बन गई थी। उसको हमने रोका है पिछले 3 महीने में। जो भी ट्रांसफर पोस्टिंग हुए हैं योग्य अधिकारियों के ईमानदारी से, जिसकी जहां योग्यता है वहां किए हैं हमने। इससे बहुत लोगों को दर्द हो रहा है। पहले करोड़ों रुपए, लाखों रुपए कमाए जाते थे ट्रांसफर पोस्टिंग से, पूरी इंडस्ट्री चलती है ट्रांसफर पोस्टिंग की, उसको हमने रोका है, इसलिए बहुत लोगों को दर्द हो रहा है इसमें।
His jibe at the bureaucrats comes a day after a group of serving and retired IAS officers protested against the treatment meted out to some of the bureaucrats in the ongoing crisis. Sisodia's remark was strongly criticized by other parties. A BJP delegation met the president on Thursday, urging his intervention to resolve the crisis. Even some of the former lieutenant governors came out in support for Rajiv Gandhi.
राष्ट्रपति जी के सामने वो मुद्दा रखा है और हमने कहा है कि दिल्ली के अंदर एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल क्राइसिस है, डेडलॉक है और एक बहुत बड़ा जो हालात हैं वो आपस में सामंजस्य की कमी है जो साफ रूप से नजर आ रही है। और आज जो मनीष सिसोदिया जी ने एक बड़ा आरोप या कहिए या खुलासा किया है कि दिल्ली के अंदर ट्रांसफर पोस्टिंग की इंडस्ट्री चल रही थी, उसके बारे में हमने राष्ट्रपति जी से कहा इंटरवीन किया जाए।
I think it's shocking for Sisodia, the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi, to call transfer posting an industry. Probably wanted to run an industry which the LG of Delhi did not permit him. So he must come clean. What is his intention? If he wanted to run an industry, it is a sad state of affairs, and that's not how an administration in the state of Delhi is run.
Delhi is a union territory. It is administered by the president, by an administrator who may be called administrator, who may be called commissioner, who may be called lieutenant governor, and it is his final say which is there.
The tussle over authority in appointing senior officials has already reached the doorsteps of the President and the Prime Minister. Both Arvind Kejriwal and Rajiv Gandhi have met him this week. While the Lieutenant Governor claims that Kejriwal is taking decisions without his consent, the Aam Aadmi Party government has accused the centre of trying to influence governance in Delhi through the LG. With inputs from Anu Diwan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, the Narendra Modi government completes a year in office on the 26th of this month, and a slew of meetings are being held at the Prime Minister's Racecourse Road residence. The Union Cabinet is meeting at his residence right now. Yesterday, the top 5 ministers of the NDA government met at the Prime Minister's residence really to discuss how they're going to approach this 1 year in office, what will be their communication plan, how would they convey their government's achievements to the people. Of course, the anti-poor tag is something that the BJP is acutely aware of and would be, in fact, trying to rid themselves of that tag through their communication process. Our correspondent Vishal Dahiya is at the 7 Racecourse Road residence of the Prime Minister. Outside it for now, Vishal, the government really, as it completes 1 year in office, this is the time now for them to revise their strategy, to look at things as to look at how the progress has been so far in this 1 year. So how about the government's own assessment? Is that happening, or is it just about a communication plan and to convey its achievements?
Well, obviously, the assessment has been happening for quite some time as far as, different ministries are concerned. We have seen the Prime Minister taking stock of the situation in specific sectors, be it the infrastructure sector or, the other core sectors of the economy and the ministries related to them. This sort of, reality check has been done by the Prime Minister's office and the Prime Minister himself from time to time in the past 1 year as well. But now that the government has completed 1 year, it is now time for the NDA government to go ahead and put it in the public domain as to what has been their achievements in the past 1 year, what is it that they plan to do in the next 4 years and specifically in the next 1 year to come. How is it that the flagship programs which have been launched in the past 1 year, 365 days will be taken forward by the government, and what all other important programs can be which can be put forward. Now there will be elaborate programs. For example, tomorrow there will be a press conference in the morning by the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on the completion of 1 year of the NDA government. Then somewhere around 25th, 26th, there is going to be a huge public rally which is going to be addressed by the Prime Minister himself, celebrating 1 year of the NDA government. In all these scheme of things, this cabinet meeting which is happening right behind me at this time at 7 RCR, is also important to the fact that this is the first time the Prime Minister will be meeting his cabinet ministers after he comes back from the 3-nation tour of China, Mongolia and South Korea. So one thing which is obviously expected to happen at this particular meeting is that the Prime Minister is expected to brief his cabinet colleagues as to what exactly transpired during those during that 2 to 3 nations, what were the agreements which were signed, what is it that the country can look forward to. But yes, once again, the communication strategy of the government and the way the government can go ahead and counter various charges which have been leveled by the opposition vis-a-vis the government's plans, programs, and also one big task before the government and its strategists and its ministers and spokesperson would be to dispel that notion, or rather to counter that charge from the opposition, which the opposition party, specifically the Congress, has been harping upon for quite some time now, trying to paint the NDA government as a pro-corporate party, a pro-corporate government, rather than being a pro-farmer or pro-poor government.
All right, Vishal, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much for joining in and helping us understand the government strategy as it prepares it. For now, Vishal Dahiya will be keeping a track of that cabinet meeting for us. Well, let's move on. Staying with the Narendra Modi government completing 1 year in office, it has big plans to promote its achievements and successes, as Vishal just said. But the focus of the promotional campaigns will be schemes related to the poor. With this, the government hopes to dispel the notion that it is anti-farmer and anti-poor, charges leveled by the opposition. The BJP will also be taking a big part of the campaign.
With an aim to promote its pro-poor and pro-farmer image, the Narendra Modi-led government will focus on social sector schemes as it sets out to celebrate the completion of 1 year in power. In the promotional campaign, the Jan Dhan Yojana, the Insurance Protection Scheme, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme and the Atal Pension Yojana will be hugely promoted. The party plans to fight allegations of being anti-poor and anti-farmer through this.
सामाजिक सुरक्षा की योजनाओं की मैं आपसे बात करता हूं। 92% लोग अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में काम करते हैं। मोदी सरकार ने उनके लिए अटल पेंशन योजना चलाई है। 1000 रुपया साल का जमा कराओ, 60 साल के बाद 1000 रुपया।
The party claims that since Modi came to power, not only has the country's economy improved, but the world is now looking differently at India. The party will also need to fight perception that it is friendlier towards the corporate than the common man.
ये कुछ राजनीतिक दल भ्रमित कर रहे हैं, इसलिए कर रहे हैं कि उनको पता है जो हमने सामाजिक सुरक्षा योजनाएं लाए हैं वो आज तक कोई नहीं लाया, इसलिए लोगों का ध्यान भटकाना चाहते हैं। हिंदुस्तान के लोग बहुत समझदार हैं।
The Modi government turns one on May 26th. Besides the advertising blitzkrieg, there will be press conferences in several cities, the first of which will be addressed by Arun Jaitley in Delhi on Friday. Public rallies have also been planned, with the Prime Minister himself planning to address several. Shyam Sundar's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, a focus story, a Mirage 2000 fighter jet of the Indian Air Force test landed on the Yamuna Expressway near Delhi this morning as part of a drill for emergency landings on national highways. That's a first for military aviation in India. The Indian Air Force has been considering the use of national highways for emergency landing by fighter aircraft.
The Indian Air Force has carried out a successful trial of landing a combat jet on a road runway. The IAF's Mirage 2000 successfully landed on Yamuna Expressway near Mathura on Thursday. IAF has been considering the use of national highways for emergency landing by fighter aircraft. For Thursday's trial, all facilities like makeshift air traffic control, safety services, rescue vehicles, bird clearance parties and other requirements were set in place by the IAF. Officials said such landings can be carried out in emergencies if an active airport is not available under certain circumstances.
The Mirage 2000 on the Yamuna Express Highway was basically a capability demonstration. The operations branch of the Air Force has been in touch with the UP government, the various other authorities. So without their support, this kind of an operation would not have been possible, which has been done. There are some plans afoot to identify, some more patches of highway where similar operations can be carried out.
Defense experts say landing fighters on roads is common across the world, a standard drill that comes into play during wartime when air bases are the first thing that get bombed or hit by missiles. In India, very few roads are available for such landings. The Indian Air Force officials said that it has plans to activate more such stretches on highways in the future. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And let's go across to defense expert, retired Air Vice Marshal Kapil Kark, to help us understand the importance of this movement. Sir, if you can just tell us with that. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I was talking about the importance of this movement in terms of Indian military aviation history. How long do you think the Indian Air Force has been trying to do this? I mean, you've served in it, so you would know best.
Well, it is a first for the Indian Air Force and the country, but as your reporter rightly said, it's a very common practice in Europe. It's been happening for 3 or 4 decades as a routine. Basically, the purpose is emergency recovery of aircraft should they have a problem, combat aircraft. Secondly, in the event of a conflict, you have alternative bases. After all, no country is rich enough to have bases all over the world, all over the country. And in that sense, the plans to have more such patches in the future is absolutely spot on. But I think I need to add a note of caution here. In Europe, the coordination between civil sector and the military sector is routine. It's that built into the DNA of the citizenry and the state. Unfortunately, in our case, that's not the problem. It's going to be a huge challenge because in Scandinavian countries, for example in Sweden, it takes no time at all because all they have to say plan A and everybody knows what has to be done in terms of fire services, security, air traffic control, closing the road. Because here we have state government, Ministry of Civil Aviation, Ministry of Defense and the Air Force. And I'd also like to suggest that civil aircraft can be recovered on these patches. Here the state government and the Ministry of Civil Aviation require their own salient. So the key challenge, Ishan, I would think, now that we have taken the first step, is to begin with, plan such strips all over the country. Because the National Highway Authority of India, which had somewhat throttled back at the closest staging of the UPA, has now acquired a greater degree of energy. We hope in the remaining 4 years of the Modi government, there will be some progress in that direction. So if we have more super highways, possibility of having these patches. Secondly, there has to be, like we have a National Disaster Management Agency,
Right.
there will have to be a need for a national aircraft operation system,
Right.
which means the state government at the district magistrate level, police authorities, traffic authorities, civil aviation authorities, Ministry of Defense, Indian Air Force, all have to be together. And some of these firefighting and other systems should be in our country, like in Europe, so far advanced that the Indian Air Force doesn't have to rush its stuff to every location. So if we achieve that degree of coordination, I do see that this can achieve greater traction. I also want to mention, apart from a conflict, which is a conventional one, in the event a nuclear deterrence breaks down and we are targeted in the nuclear realm, this type of a dispersal of the delivery vectors like combat aircraft is extremely useful in those unthinkable contingencies, but all contingencies can become unthinkable, they have to be catered for.
Absolutely, being catered to. But in terms of how difficult would it have been for a pilot to try and land a plane on a highway? I mean, this is of course not an ordinary highway that we in India are used to as well. I mean, this is of course a tarmac almost. So in terms of just landing from a pilot's perspective, how difficult would this exercise have been?
Well, Indian Air Force pilots, I can say without doubt, are perhaps the best fighter pilots in the world. And I'm not saying this because I happen to have worn a uniform of the Air Force for 3 or 4 decades. The question is, it's so wide a highway that it almost mimics a normal runway, except that one has to clear it for any landing to take place. And for that, as I mentioned earlier, Ishan, so much has to be in place before the aircraft can land, whether it's a civil aircraft or a military aircraft. But I don't think that's such a huge challenge. But as has been said, we're talking about the Delhi, Mathura and Delhi-Agra superhighway built by the private sector. Unfortunately, to my mind, there has been no contact whatsoever or coordination at the time this highway was planned between the private group which has constructed it and the Ministry of Defense, for that matter, even the Air Force. So I think unless our problem in the country is we work in silos. This has been our problem from independence and I don't think it's going away. So unless we build up that understanding, common vocabulary, understanding on the ground, have mechanisms in place, institutions conversing with each other routinely, we will only be talking about this particular landing as one achievement which hasn't gone any further.
Right, absolutely. It certainly seems that, I mean, it is a special day, but still a long way to go. As they say, thank you very much, MIS Marshal Kapil for coming in and helping us understand this a little better. Well, time now for a very quick break, but coming up on the other side, the Parliamentary Standing Committee holds a meeting with stakeholders with a net neutrality issue. What's the outcome? We'll tell you on the other side.
One year in office for the Narendra Modi-led NDA government. Lots of hits and plenty of misses too. On the big picture, that's our theme for the week ahead. First, how has the social sector fared in the last year? Watch the big picture at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Net Neutrality will present its report soon. The committee met several stakeholders to discuss the issue today. The meeting was attended by representatives of mobile and internet provider companies, including Vodafone, Airtel and Idea. The issue of net neutrality was debated by all political parties during the budget session of Parliament. The Standing Committee feels that consumer rights must be protected. The committee's report is likely to be tabled in the next session of Parliament. The concept of net neutrality provides for equal access to all websites without any partiality.
पार्लियामेंट का पूरा हक बनता है सवाल पूछने के लिए और उस तौर से हम लोग आए हुए हैं इन सवालों का जवाब देने के लिए। अब जैसे ही कमेटी उचित समझते हों अगर हमें दोबारा बुलाना है अगले हफ्ते में अगले महीने में जब हम लोग तैयार।
The That's why we have made an agenda on this issue, and we have given notices to the stakeholders. Today this BSNL, MTNL and the Vodacom, and they are coming. And after that we will call other stakeholders also. This IT committee has taken this issue first. Then it has become an issue. In the Rajya Sabha there was the calling attention. In Lok Sabha there is 193. So that discussion is going on. The main issue with regard to this is that the common people has to get the benefit.
On to some state politics and to Jammu and Kashmir, where the BJP is denied having any differences with its ally PDP over the granting of a passport to separatist leader Saeed Ali Shah Gilani. The party said a decision on the passport will be taken by the centre, keeping in view all security aspects. The process for issuing a passport to Gilani will be the same as that for every citizen of India.
The request of hardline Hurriyat leader Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani for a passport will be proceeded on merit depending on the completion of formalities by him. The Union Home Ministry said this on Thursday amid a row over the issue that has divided the ruling PDP-BJP combine in Jammu and Kashmir.
It will be known to the country. One should not just create controversy out of an issue which is not worth creating a matter of controversy, because when there is a decision taken by the ministry, it will be known to the country.
Each one of us must realize is that the law of land is common to everybody and is equal to everybody. So whoever it be, A, B, C, and whatever be the issue, and as far as the present issue of permission to travel overseas is concerned, the same checks, balances, the same procedures, and the same verifications, whether they be the security verifications or the intelligence verifications, will be applicable to Mr. Gilani as to anybody else. And therefore, anything found objectionable would be applicable to him as much to anybody else.
The BJP has also asserted that there were no differences with the PDP on the issue. The party also said a decision on the matter would be taken by the centre.
What do we feel that in case if anybody who is an inhabitant of this country, if he asks for passport, so he has got full authority to get that passport. And finally it is MHA which has to decide that somebody should be given or should not be given. And when it comes to our stand, what we are saying is for particularly is this, that at least on humanitarian grounds he should be given a passport because his daughter is not well, as we know.
Gilani and his family members are said to have applied for passports online, even though he is yet to visit the regional passport office in Srinagar to give his biometric data. After these formalities are completed, Gilani's application will be sent to the Ministries of Home and External Affairs for their comments, as he falls in prior security clearance category for issuing of passport. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi was among the top leaders who paid tribute to former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi on his 24th death anniversary today. Homage was also paid at Rajiv Gandhi's memorial at Veer Bhumi by former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, Congress President and his wife Sonia Gandhi, and their children Priyanka and Rahul Gandhi. The Modi government has called for a fitting commemoration of the day that is being observed as Anti-Terrorism Day.
Happily.
Some international news, and the US government has released hundreds of documents seized during the raid at the Al-Qaeda chief Osama bin Laden's hideout in Abbottabad in Pakistan. The documents revealed top Al-Qaeda leader crowing about the 26/11 Mumbai terror strikes as heroic and the German bakery blast in Pune as a beautiful huge bombing. It also describes the attacks as success stories to be emulated by other Al-Qaeda affiliate groups globally.
Mumbai attacks of 2008. The terror attack that lasted 4 days, 10 Lashkar-e-Taiba militants carrying out a series of 12 coordinated shootings and bombing attacks across Mumbai, killing 164 people and wounding at least 308. Al-Qaeda documents, now declassified by the US, describes the attack heroic Fidai operation and the blast at a German bakery in Pune in 2010 that killed 17 people and injured over 60 as a beautiful huge bombing.
In particular, it must be a wake-up call to countries and states which are infested with such mindset, including the actors responsible for all this in Pakistan.
That there is a conscious attempt by Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Pakistan, ISI and all that, to radicalize a section of the Muslim community. So I think it's time for government to take a more active interest in counter-terrorism.
The 15-page document, Terror Franchise, The Unstoppable Assassin, Tech's vital role for its success, lists the Mumbai terror attack as one of the blessed operations. The documents also directs Al-Qaeda and its affiliates to kill and target Americans and its allies, including those in Britain, Germany and India, with their terror attacks. This was among the large tranche of documents recovered from the US from the compound of the house where bin Laden was hiding when the US secret forces killed the Al-Qaeda leader. Although only a fraction of Al-Qaeda total files were found at the Abbottabad hideaway, they give an insight on the mindset of the Al-Qaeda's founder, his debates over tactics and his anxiety over Western spying. US intelligence officials have described these documents as a treasure trove of information. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The Islamic State has gained control over the ancient city of Palmyra in Syria. The government now fears that the world-famous ruins of the ancient city, that is also a UNESCO heritage site, could be destroyed. After heavy clashes with military and Islamic State militants, the militants seized the desert city on Wednesday. By evening, the militant outfit was in control of the ancient city. The victory gives the Islamic State another strategically important prize 5 days after the fall of the Iraqi city of Ramadi. Now, the Obama administration today agreed to consider requests to resettle migrants coming from Myanmar and Bangladesh. After facing much international criticism, Myanmar and Indonesia have reached a deal in the Asian migrant crisis with the condition that the international community resettle them within a year.
A day after Malaysia and Indonesia agreed to a breakthrough deal for resettlement of the migrants, Myanmar braced for its first talks with US and Southeast Asian envoys. Foreign ministers of Malaysia and Indonesia are meeting to discuss ways to provide aid to boatloads of starving migrants. Malaysia has ordered search and rescue missions for thousands of people stranded at sea. The change in their much condemned policy of turning away migrants was welcomed by the United States. Washington has also offered to provide financial and resettlement aid.
We're actively considering our options right now. On two pieces of that, though, I'll start with financial assistance. If the UNHCR and IOM indicate the need for additional funds to assist governments to establish things like reception centers and ensure protection screening procedures, we'll consider those requests. In terms of resettling, I think the Malaysians and the Indonesians have requested some help resettling people. We're taking a careful look at the proposal. We're prepared to take a leading role in any UNHCR organized multi-country effort to resettle the most vulnerable refugees.
The US aid comes following a high-level meeting in Kuala Lumpur where Myanmar and Indonesia agreed to take in the asylum seekers for 1 year until they can be resettled or repatriated with the help of international agencies. Hundreds of stranded migrants from Bangladesh and Myanmar were rescued by fishermen from Indonesian waters after the deal was struck. More than 3,000 migrants, mostly Rohingya Muslims from Myanmar and Bangladesh, have landed so far this month in Malaysia and Indonesia. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
That's all from us. Goodbye.